Hey, just checking in, making sure you guys can hear me as we prepare for an update on what's happening here outside over the next several hours as we wait for a few more people to join and check in. We do have some severe weather that's still in play for some of us later on today, and as more of you guys join, we'll have an update on what is expected here as we wish you a good morning here as we start off our day on the quiet side. First and foremost, weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank here. Always try to check to make sure you guys can hear me and I can hear myself on the thing. So there we go. We're in good shape now. So we've obviously started off this morning with some very loud thunderstorms that were in most of the area here. And what we're going to notice here is it's quieted down significantly, even as we look at Arnold here. And first and foremost, I'll try to answer all of your questions here that I can. This is not a significant severe weather outbreak, but we are looking at a couple of changes here over the next few hours, and you're probably going to see some midday severe weather depending on where you are, and I want to show you why that is. We'll also cover the severe weather that occurred this morning and those stronger storms with some of those higher wind gusts as well. So here's what it looks like at the moment here. Like I said, we've got Arnold, and the main story for us here is the fact that we are sitting in between where this front is at the moment. And, you know, as you can continue to look outside, this is where we're going to be dealing with, and one of the reasons the focal point is where this front is, low to mid 70s here, you're in the low 60s and 50s behind it, right? So the more you're on this side of the front, city of St. Louis southeast, and behind the front, you're less likely to see severe weather, right? We're stable, the cooler air mass is settled in, but ahead of it, that's where we're seeing severe weather development, and that's why things are in question today and why we've talked about this here for a couple of days. So as I put this in motion, and you guys can text here if you guys are just watching this at work and wondering what's going on throughout the day, this is what woke you up this morning. We had a few very loud thunderstorms that started off this morning, and as we start off this morning here, you'll look at what happened here. Let me go all the way back. Now it seems like 4 hours, but it was 6 hours ago. This is where you had this very loud thunderstorms, and watch all this lightning that we had. This is what we had, all that cloud to ground lightning. This is what likely woke you up, even as I just see if I can cue this up specifically to show you how much of this lightning was within just a 15-minute period here this morning at 3 o'clock. And, you had about almost 200 lightning strikes. A lot of them were hitting the ground. That's what likely woke you up this morning, and it actually caused a fire as well. So that was in Glen Carbon. So, that was pretty significant, right? A lot of cloud to ground lightning. That's why it was very unsafe out there this morning. And I mean, it was a lightning show outside on our tower cams, people driving into work, things of that nature. I don't know that I've seen that much cloud to ground lightning in many, many months, right? This is a peak thunderstorm type of thing, and as we work our way into spring, right? Now, of course, we got past that, and I can kind of scan where we are right now, and I'll clear that part of it off, right? I'll clear that part of it off here. And let's talk about what's going on here, or what happened here throughout the rest of the morning, because we watched that other boundary that settled in. And now, as you see things by 6:15, 7 o'clock, that's right during the peak commute. And that's where we had significant heavy rain. And some of these spots here around the airport, some of these time lapses here from the airport, St. Charles, that's where you had 2 to 3 inch per hour rainfall rates that settled into the area. And, significant rainfall, but no severe weather at this point, but it was enough to produce a wind gust of about 50 miles an hour at Lambert. Now, after that, you see this is the area that we had some of the lightning, and of course, that was responsible for severe weather here from New Athens, even some smaller hail into Redbud as well, as we continue to look at that. And, now we're starting to see a couple of severe thunderstorm watches that are going out to our south, and that's what I wanted to kind of get to here, because we are still going to see the potential for severe weather. But this is where we had the opportunity for severe weather, and before we start to see more spots that are added into that severe thunderstorm watch, I want to point out what the Storm Prediction Center has outlined for us when they're talking about what's expected here. And I'll show you the specific storm, but it really is the southern part of our area, right? You'll notice this mesoscale discussion, and just kind of give you an idea of what that means. Storm Prediction Center looks at every storm and severe weather setup and kind of the ingredients that are in place, and outlines where they may put a watch or a watch out ahead of time and some of the main threats. And you'll see some of the main threats right now. The tornado threat is not low, or it's not It's not zero, but it's pretty low. It still exists, but wind between 55 to 70 miles an hour. But you'll notice that area highlighted in blue. Those are the areas that are likely to be under a severe thunderstorm watch here at some point. Now, I've already got a message that we have already seen one spot, including Perry County, that is under a severe thunderstorm watch. It's quiet right now, but I want to show you the storm that they are tracking at this point, as once again, they're starting to see more spots come in there, and now we have Phelps County. Like I said, it all has to do with this system, which I'll turn the lightning off, and you'll see, which is relatively robust here at this point. I'll flip this back on so you guys can text any questions here, and I'll be monitoring the chat line. In fact, I'll go back here so I can make sure you guys can look at that and check in. You guys can always text the line. I want to make sure this computer doesn't fall asleep, as I don't have my laptop with me, so I'm going to turn that part off, and I'll go answer your questions here in the short term. But as we look ahead, what you'll notice here is we're going to continue to look at the potential for this here. Look at Springfield. There's a couple of different tornado warnings, and one thing of note, although I'm not too certain that this is something that we're going to be dealing with later on today, although it isn't out of the question in places like Iron County that have not really been worked over from early rain, is the fact that we have some of these leading edge notch type of thunderstorms here that are producing those quick spin up tornadoes. Right? You'll see some of them here, you'll see some of them here. These are familiar things that, you know, when we talk about some of these things here in a standpoint, what you're used to seeing, those leading edge little spin up thunderstorms. I'm not expecting some tornado outbreak with us, but I don't want to discount the fact that we may see the possibility of a brief tornado on the leading edge of this. I would say, when you look at the leading edge of where all this stuff is here, whether it be from Rolla, most of that is going to be to the south. These are the spots, if I'm going to pick a spot here to the south, you know, to me it's going to be Reynolds, Dent, Iron County, Madison County. To me it's south, even into Farmington, you know, St. Francis County. You know, to me those are the spots that I think are more likely to see the potential for one of these brief tornadoes throughout the day. So that's going to be something that we have to pay attention to specifically. But, you know, north of that, really north of that, let's almost cut this off here. And I haven't looked, bear with me, I've pointed out a couple of spots where I look to see who's in a severe thunderstorm watch at this point, but I really want to notch off some counties here just by looking at not only the radar, but with the surface analysis and looking at where some of these things are. Really, you know, if I'm going to guess, nowhere north of that line is in a severe thunderstorm watch, right? To me, it's the instability is not there. The front has passed through. Maybe a county on that line would be included, but there are probably parts of that county that are not going to be in the severe thunderstorm watch at all. And I'll flash what those counties are in a second. But you'll just notice from the line of where this bowing out segment is, if you're just talking about the leading edge of it in Rolla, and I believe it's moving at about 55, 60 miles an hour, this could put it close to Rolla at about 10, let's call it 10:45, 11 o'clock, right? That's what it looks like to me. I think the rest of the area, it's about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and that's where it's going to settle in. Let's put on the watches and warnings here. I'm going to flip a different layer on for you so that you can check things out here as we look at who's involved in this specific severe thunderstorm watch. Let's put that on here. And you'll see still they're either going to coordinate and put a couple of more spots in. I would say they're likely to fill those spots into the south. I think this is a matter of communicating between offices, and I haven't checked with my emergency management partners yet here to check, but yeah, that just hasn't filled into my computer, right? So these spots are involved in it, and like I said, it even goes up to Randolph County, and yeah, let's see specifically. Let's see, that also goes up even into St. Clair County as well. So yeah, so we'll see more of that fill in. Let's see if I pull up a different thing, if more of it starts to fill in. Regardless, that's your severe thunderstorm watch. Let's see if I can get a different graphic to pull up for you. And it really has to do with this, right? This is the big line. Like I said, the instability and where that's put in. And one of the reasons that we're looking at some of this instability as I pull up some of these products here for you to look at, we have this slight risk for severe weather, which is being realized by that severe thunderstorm watch, which I said, I believe this is until 3 p.m. and it's still going to feed in here as it's, yeah. So more of those counties are going on that, but it hasn't quite populated fully into my map. So I'm going to update this for you, and we'll see that, right? So let me see if I can just point out. I'll keep trying to load this for you, see if it comes up, but I want to zoom into some of the spots that are involved in it but still haven't been populated. So Sullivan, you're in it as well. Farmington, Fredericktown, Centerville. You know, these are areas, like I said, Iron County, Monroe County. You know, you're involved in this as well. Like I said, St. Clair County as well. That's about as far north as it goes here at this point. So, like I said, this map will populate at some point. But let's talk about some of the details that are involved in this here at this moment, because I want to talk about what we're going to see. Our severe weather risk is outlined with that, right? It's all those areas because of the position of that front. I really think if you're in the green for the most part, you're really not going to see any severe weather, especially in Herman, Washington, St. Louis City. The front is really through there. I don't really expect much from that. I do want to talk about the main risk, which is the wind, and you'll see it's a 5% chance of those damaging winds. That's at least outlined in this, and I think it probably is higher than that simply because of the nature of where the storm is and what it has produced. But one thing that's new from some of the messaging that we've talked about, which is our tornado risk, right? We see the potential. It's very low, but it's there for a brief, weak tornado on the leading edge of this, right? And also, hail, I think, is a bigger risk, especially in Farmington, Fredericktown, 12 Mile, Lesterville. That's what we have seen so far with this storm. And one of the reasons that we look at some of this risk, we have this fuel for storms, which we have the significant dew points, which have come up in the mid-60s here. You'll notice in Farmington and Perryville, those numbers are in the mid-60s. To the north, Warrenton, Pittsfield, Litchfield, it's a little lower. You're starting to see that dry air creep in. I think that's important, where you almost have this line right about here where you can probably find that front by looking at some of the wind particles here. And first and foremost, if you're wondering when this is going to arrive, I really think that you're going to see more of this here that settles in. Watch Futurecast here by about midday, 11:30. I think this may be even a little bit behind, but 11:30, 12 o'clock, I think it's going to start to impact areas in Rava. Watch where this is, and I'm going to pause this so I can zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see more spots here. That's Potosi, that's Lesterville, that's Festus, that's Belgrade, that is Bloomsdale. You know, this could be an afternoon where you're seeing some leading edge wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles an hour. And like I said, as we zoom in just a little bit, you'll see, and I follow this from Festus, you know, Festus, you got some stronger rain earlier, some stronger storms and some higher winds. I don't know if that rain will keep us out of the severe weather at this point. We'll see if that holds together. But once again, as I slide into the Metro East, I'll go back just a little bit here and slide into the Metro East. And let's figure this out here from this standpoint of zooming in just a little bit. And that means Sparta, Chester, Perryville, DuQuoin. You know, that's where I think we're going to see this thing get out of here pretty quickly. But we'll watch out for 2 or 3 o'clock for some of those storms to be on the stronger side and move through that area. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of severe weather. So let's call it 11 o'clock all the way to 4, simply because the 50 to 60 mile an hour wind threat, large hail is possible. Allow extra time for those commutes here as well. And so let me get that on there. And before I look at, I'll upgrade our main threats map, and then I want to check in with some of your questions here on Facebook in case you guys are following along here. I want to update my main threats map to at least include a tornado for some of those spots. Let me find that here for you. Update this threat for you. And just look outside. You can see that even in Arnold, things are on the quiet side. I'll update this main threats map to include the potential for a tornado and 1-inch hail. We'll turn that to low. I'm going to turn that to medium, low. We'll turn that to low as well. Hail as medium, right? I think that's kind of where we are right now. Perfect. So this is where we are right now with this in terms of our severe weather threats, right? I just told you I was going to upgrade this. Right now, you know, minimal flooding respects, just because I think we have enough break from the rain. But I do think that we're going to see, you know, some issues in regards to wind gusts and hail. Those are our 2 main threats right now. That's what it looks like when you look at the history of the storm and where it's been. Those are our 2 main threats right now at this point, right? So Let me look at some of the questions here for you guys here, if you guys are having any questions here, so I can give you an update on what's happening here as we look outside. So those are the main things here as we look outside over the next several hours. Those are the two main concerns in terms of the potential for severe weather here over the next several hours. Like I said, this is 12, 1, 2 o'clock here. That's our main story that we have in terms of when that line of storms is going to move through. So as we continue to monitor our threats here over the next several hours, that's the main story we have here at this moment. So somebody asked, 314-465 texted and said, when time is it supposed to get really bad for St. Louis? I don't think that it's going to get really bad in St. Louis. I really think that, we're probably going to see some rain once again that moves through the area. But as we continue to push through, especially, it probably will rain by 1 or 2 o'clock, but I think the severe weather threat is over for St. Louis if we even had one to begin with. So that's, kind of the main story for us in regards to what's happening here at this hour. Like I said, severe weather threat, let's see if this populated just yet for me, and it still hasn't, which we'll figure that out at some point. But our severe weather threat is in these counties, really Crystal City south, let's call it Shiloh south. That's where we're seeing the severe weather threat, and it really has to do with the fact that we have areas off to our south and southwest. It's the main line that's in Springfield right now, producing a couple of tornado warnings right now, but just the fact that we have this area and the leading edge of this area specifically right here, all the way through Rolla and Farmington. That's what we're looking at for the potential for that line of severe storms. So that's the reason for the Severe Thunderstorm Watch. Meteorologist Jim Castillo just walked in, so he can do the updates the rest of the day, and we will keep you posted here. But for now, that's the main story. It's south of I-70 that I think that there's going to be any sort of threat, and we'll leave that with you here as we set things up for the next several hours. We'll have updates here throughout the rest of the day, especially during the noon show. So we'll have updates then, and we'll talk to you soon.